bird in the Indian subcontinent, whatever you have witnessed? Any two or three top of the mind items?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think there are many small achievements, but there are two really big achievements. One is to bring everybody together on a common platform and build these networks. So people now know so many more birders than they used to in the past, because previously there were small groups, but now everybody knows each other in some way because they have all seen each other's observations out there. They've known of their existence and therefore they've eventually got in touch. The other thing is it's made knowledge public. We no longer have to depend upon two or three people who know where something is and then they may not share that information. At the moment, for birdwatchers who like to go out to new areas or see new birds, that information is all there. They may not know the exact areas, but they always can go and try their luck in finding something. So that's a real, I think, benefit. It's democratized birding in a way. You don't have to have a very big connection to go and do your birding. But then maybe the most important success has been State of India's Birds, which is something that the entire platform and the entire initiative has been working towards for a long time. But only in the last few years has it become clear that the data is finally there to start making an attempt at this. And now the next real challenge is to make sure that all the results that are there out of that are taken more and more seriously as we go along. So I think the entire community now has a responsibility to take that information and convince policymakers that please prioritize based on this. Maybe don't plant trees in grasslands, for example.
Yes.
That's such a challenge for all of us to convince policymakers to do that. But but now we have the data to back that up. That open habitat birds are declining. So let those habitats be as they are.
Have you seen any policy decision being taken based on eBird data? Has there been any such example?
There have been at a smaller scale typically, more in local areas about whether to have some wetland declared as a protected area or not, or such things have been done based on eBird data. At a larger scale, the SOIB high priority species were used to inform the wildlife schedules. They don't exactly correlate because the wildlife schedule is about protection. It's about protection, but here it's more about prioritizing for both research and conservation. So for example, a high priority bird might be something that is very common but declining strongly. That may not need to be on schedule 1, but it requires everybody to prioritize research to understand what is going on. Why is that bird declining so much? So although it was used for the schedules, that perhaps wasn't the best use in policy. There have been some other places in which it's taken up. For example, IUCN takes it up. There are few IUCN statuses that have been updated based on the SOIB trends, and as we know, IUCN statuses are used increasingly in policy. I mean, they're used a lot in policy to determine whether there are grants that are given out to study those species, are permissions given out, are certain regions declared as protected areas or not.
Yeah.
So, but there's a long way to go for us.
Long way to go, yeah. But small steps are definitely there.
Yeah.
Now, what are do you know about any future goals of eBird or?
So one thing we're doing now somewhat successfully is to leverage this some slightly informal, semi-structured participation to get some scientific insights. But what we haven't done at a large scale yet is to get everybody to become more and more systematic in their approach. So what they have in many other parts of the world, they have these structured surveys for birds. So you heard of the breeding bird survey in US and parts of Europe. These are completely structured surveys in that there are teams that are trained across the country, it's volunteers who go and follow a fixed protocol and collect data. So that is in addition to everything that's happening on eBird. For example, bird atlases are completely structured and systematic. As a community, we are still in the more informal part of it, and we have to slowly move towards making it doing some systematic work in addition to all of the semi-structured work. So Kerala, for example, the bird atlas that they did, that was that step up, the next step to do something that is more scientifically credible. right? And that everything is accounted for. Everybody is making 15-minute checklists. The entire state is randomly sampled. So analysis from that is very easy. Now next time the Kerala Bird Atlas is done in 15, 20 years, 10, 15 years, that baseline you can very easily compare the two, and you can say whether things have declined or remained the same or increased. There is no, even the margin for error is very low. If you look at some of the SYB maps, because of all of this difference in what everybody is doing, there's a lot of uncertainty in many trends, which is important. But it's also because I might make a checklist for 1 hour, you might make a checklist for 15 minutes. It's very difficult to compare the two. So statistically you can do it, but the less statistics we have in this whole process, the better the results will be. So anyway, so we need to move towards something a little more systematic.
As you talk about eBird penetration, so eBird is currently available only in English.
Yeah.
Do you think it should be available in more Indian languages?
Yeah, certainly, and that is a direction that is at the moment really important, and it's something that Mittal and others are also trying to speed up. Get eBird in multiple languages, get Merlin in multiple languages. So Merlin is already in quite a few languages now. I can't remember whether Bangla is there or not for Merlin.
Haven't seen it.
So this is a good question to ask Mittal actually about languages and translations. But no doubt eBird needs to be in every possible Indian language.
Yeah. Coming to eBird reviewers, what is the significance of the reviewers meet?
So typically, reviewers meets happen for two reasons. One is to get all the reviewers on the same page in terms of what standards of data quality we are aspiring to. What are we going to do, or how strict are we going to be, how well is the entire system set up for that. Has everybody had the same amount of training, therefore the same understanding of what to do under certain circumstances. So that is one reason for a reviewer meet, but this reviewer meet did not have that. So this reviewer meet was more about many people coming together, not just reviewers but also regional coordinators. So there were many states in the country have regional coordinators who are meant to be the points of contact between birders and reviewers, and also are meant to be the points of contact generally for birders if they want to do any kind of activities or initiatives. And Shujan, for example, is a regional coordinator here. So by bringing regional coordinators and reviewers together, the idea was everybody comes and discusses some really important topics of where we want to go next, about diversity and inclusivity, for example. Do we have it among the reviewers, among the birding public? What are the challenges and solutions? Also about engaging birdwatchers. What is the best way to do that? There are certain areas where, for example, in West Bengal example, while there are a lot of birders in this area, maybe in the west, there's still almost nobody local in the hills, in the North Bengal hills, in maybe even in Kuch Behar, Uttar Dinajpur, Dakshin Dinajpur. All of these areas don't have any local birders, and unless there are local bird watchers, they can never actually be good monitoring of these regions. So therefore, there were many solutions that were proposed, and now there is a team that is going to dedicate themselves to trying to fine-tune these solutions and implement them for engaging birdwatchers. Another one that's going to try and implement some solutions about increasing various kinds of diversities within this e-birding landscape. I mean, the reason that I really want everybody to participate in this initiative and to watch birds is generally because watching birds really gives joy, and it's a really fun activity, and it improves it improves your networks, improves your happiness, your mental health. You see that in many places, and I think wherever there aren't people watching birds, it's just such a nice thing to do. So it's useful to take it out there, and citizen science is the next step.
So when you good that you brought up the local birding population, so in the hills, in the various districts. So do you think that birding guides in those regions who actually have the exact trees where certain birds come, do you think getting them to do eBird will help in this initiative?
Oh yes, certainly. I think birding guides are such an important part of the system, not just because of their knowledge about birds, but because they also have they have the power to educate much more than any of us do. the number of people they meet coming from maybe people who have very little interaction with nature. They just go there to maybe to see one or two birds, but actually otherwise they haven't engaged much with nature. So they become educators, bird guides in that case. They can teach so many things to people. They can teach them how to be responsible in many ways. They can teach them the beauty of many other kinds of nature. And they can teach them about conservation in that area and about how local culture intertwines with conservation. So bird guides are a really important part of this entire process, and in Assam and parts of Arunachal, bird guides are already eBirders. They are citizen scientists also, but they are also really good educators.
Okay.
All the people doing bird walks in eastern Assam, in lower Arunachal, these are all bird guides. And mainly bird guide, I think over there it all starts with the bird guides. They are the first people, they are the first gateway into nature for anybody in that region. So they do all the bird walks, they do everything. We need that to happen in North Bengal as well.
Yes.
And at the moment that happens, there will be more birders that come up in North Bengal, I think. So,
any advice you would want to give to new bird watchers who are starting with eBird?
so I think if somebody is a new bird watcher, I would suggest that they don't start off with eBird, because in the beginning it can be a little inhibiting in terms of how much you are enjoying your birding. So in the beginning I would suggest just get binoculars, go out, watch birds, enjoy yourself, try and note down some things, make some drawings, whatever, on a notebook, just do something that gives you joy. Once you become more and more comfortable with your bird watching, you get more experience, you are able to do things with little less effort, that's when I think you can get a phone or an app in. Because otherwise in the beginning it kind of slows down your initial process of enjoying it and getting into it properly. So I'd suggest right in the beginning, use iNaturalist, learn more about birds, use Merlin, and then as you get more experience, come into start making complete checklists on eBird.
Another just one short question. Any rare bird that you personally wish to see is on your wish list?
I really want to see Nordman's green shank.
Oh.
And that's been on my wish list for a really long time, because it's a really unique bird, right? First of all, it's uncommon, of course, but it's also a showbird that nests on trees in the Arctic, and I generally like showbirds also. It's funny to have a green shank that is slightly shorter than and stumpier than our common green shank, but actually sits on a tree and makes its nest there. So I really want to see Nordman's green shanks, and if it comes back this year, this February, I'll try and come. I couldn't unfortunately come last February, so let me know, I'll come.
Sure. Thank you so much.